In the previous video, we looked at how to import a solution to another organization and saw it in action. In this video, we look at patches. So as your CRM organization grows and you have many customizations which is taking place, then the number of solutions which you have in your organization will also increase drastically. Okay. So if you're creating a new custom solution for each and every single change, then what will happen is the number of solutions will increase drastically. So to handle that issue, Dynamics 365 has the concept of patches. So what will happen is we'll be creating some patches for our base solution, and then when the time comes, we'll just combine all the patches into one major solution. Now let's see it in action. Now let's create a new solution for this. I'm going to call this demo for patches. I'm going to choose the publisher and I'm going to give the version number. I'm saving the solution first. Now, what I'm going to be doing is, I'm going to be adding the entity sports, which we just created in the previous video. So I'm just going to select that, click OK. And then I'm just going to include the entity metadata. I don't want to include the other components. Okay, so I'm just going to click on finish. Yes, include required components. So what will happen is now this entity will have some dependencies on other components. So Dynamics 365 will show you what are the missing components. Now since there is no the entity has just been created and there's no dependencies created yet, it's just showing this entity itself. So just click on include required components, but other times what will happen is whatever are the required components will be included in this list. So if you want to include those as well as part of the solution, then just click on include required components. Now select this when the required components is not there in the target organization. If it's there in the target organization, you do not need to include the components. Okay, I'm just going to click on OK. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding some fields. So to do that, I'm just going to click on new, add a field called cricket. And then I'm going to add basketball. Okay. Alright, so now what I've done is I've added two fields, cricket and basketball. Okay, so now let's say that I am going to export this solution to the other organization. That is, I want to export the fields, the two fields which I've just created. So I'm just going to export it as an unmanaged solution this time. Export. Then once it's downloaded, that is a zip file, going to the target environment, clicking on solutions, and then going to import it. Click on next. Okay, so now it's imported. Okay, so now what would have happened is the two fields which you just created would have been added in this default solution. Okay, so if I go to this environment's default solution, if I go to the sports entity, fields, now you'll see that the two fields which I just created has been added to this environment. Okay. So now, if I go to my base environment, that is the environment from which I am creating the solutions, I've decided to add a couple of more fields as well. Okay. So this time, instead of just creating a new solution itself, what I can do is I can just clone a patch for this solution. So to do that, first ensure that this solution has been selected. Okay, and then click on clone a patch. Give a suitable name for the patch. You can leave it as it is, or you can change the name. I'm just going to add the word patch1 to it. And then the base solution is the demo for patches. That is from which solution the patch is getting created. Okay. And then we have the option to change the build and release version numbers. So if you guys remember in one of the previous videos when we were talking about version numbers, I mentioned that this is the major version number, minor, build and release version numbers. So in patches, you have the option to change the build and release version numbers. So every time you create a new patch, the build number will be increased by 1 automatically. Now if you want, you can change this to something else as well, like you can change it to 2, 3, etc. I'm just going to leave it as 1, and you can also change the release version number if you want to. Okay, so I'm just going to click on save. Now if I open this solution, you'll see that none of the components is added from the base solution. So what you need to do is you just need to add the components which you want to add to the solution. In my case, it's the sports entity. So I'm just going to select the sports entity. Including only the entity metadata, and this time I'm not going to include the required components because it's already there in the target organization. So I'm just going to click on OK, and now I'm going to the fields of that entity and add a couple of fields. So I'm going to call this soccer, and I'm creating one more field, rugby, and I'm saving and closing it. So I'm just going to save and close this. Before I do that, just see that some of the details is automatically filled in. Like the description is saying that this is a patch for the demo for patches solution. Similarly, the version number is updated based on what you gave, and the schema name is added automatically. A unique identification number is also created. Okay. So now if you want, you can change the display name over here as well if you want to. So yeah, now I'm just going to save and close it. Now I'm going to export this solution. I'm going to export it as an unmanaged solution. So the solution is created. Now I'm going to the target environment and importing it. Choose file. Then I'm going to choose the patch. Okay, So now the solution has been imported. I'm just going to close it. And if I go to this environment's default solution again, you will see that rugby and soccer has been added to this entities list of fields. Okay. Alright. So now I'm going to my source environment again. So this patch, the change which I made in this patch solution is a minor change, and hence I used a patch. Okay. Now let's say that I want to make a major release again. Okay. Now like I want to add like 4 or 5 fields. Okay. Then what that is like a major change. So at that time, what I'll be doing is I'll be cloning the solution and I'll be adding the changes on top of that clone solution. Okay. So to do that, what I need to do is I need to select that solution, that is the base solution, and then click on clone solution. Now in this one, you can change the major version number and the minor version number. Okay, like how we had in patches, we had the build and release version numbers as customizable. In this, we have the major and minor version numbers as customizable. So I'm just going to change the display name to clone solution. Okay, then I'm just going to click on save. Now what will happen is the patch solution will be removed. That patch solution will be combined with the base solution, and that combined solution is this clone solution, which contains all the components of the base solution and the patch solution. Okay. So if I open this entities fields, it will have all the fields which I just created. So the basketball field, cricket, rugby and soccer. So all the fields which I just created has been added. Now let's go ahead and add a few fields to this entity. So I'm just going to call this baseball, football, finally running. Okay. So I'm just going to save and close this. So I've created a few fields. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and export this clone solution. Okay. So again, there was a base solution which I had, and then I did a minor change to this entity sports. That is, I created a couple of fields, and to do that I created a patch solution. And then once I created the patch solution and exported that, I wanted to do a major release. That is, creating a few more fields, like 3 fields like the running, soccer, rugby, etc. Okay. Now I want to export this clone solution. Okay. So let me go ahead and save and close this and select this to be exported. Okay. So now the solution has been exported. Now I go to my target environment. Before I actually import the clone solution, what I need to do is I need to combine the base solution and the patch in this environment as well. Otherwise, it will throw an error. That is, it won't allow me to import the clone solution when a patch exists for that base solution. So I'm just going to select that solution and then clone it first. I'm not going to change the display name, so I'm just going to save it. So now the solution has been cloned, and now I can import the other solution which I created. So now observe that the display name of this solution is demo for patches. In the source environment, that solution name, that same solution, that name is clone solution. Okay. So now observe how the display name of that solution is changed after I import the solution. So I'm just going to select the solution, go for patches, next, import. And there you go. So you'll see that the solution name has been, that is the display name, has been changed to demo for patches clone solution. Okay. And now if I go ahead and open this solution, go to the entities, sports, fields, you'll see that all the fields which I just added has been added. That is soccer, running, rugby, football, cricket, etc. Okay. So all the solution has been added, and it will also be added to the default solution. So now if I go to this environment's default solution, I would actually find all the fields. Go to the sports entity, fields, and you'll see that the fields which I just added is there: football, cricket, basketball, baseball, rugby, running, soccer. Okay. So that is how you clone a patch and clone a solution. Now for this example which I gave you, I actually made two set of changes. Okay. If I did not use the clone a patch and clone solution, I would have ended up with three solutions. That is the base solution, and then the first change, and then the second change. So a total of three. Now using clone a patch and clone solution, I've ended up with just one solution. Just one solution which has all the changes. Okay. So that is how you use clone a patch and clone a solution. So the patches is used for making some minor changes, and solution, that is clone solution, will be used when you're making a major release, that is the next major release. Okay. So there are some properties about patches. The first one is that a patch parent cannot be a patch. That is, if you've created a patch, then you cannot use that patch to clone a solution or create another patch. Okay. Patches can have only one parent solution, and then the patch also creates a dependency on the parent solution. You can also install a patch only if the parent solution is present. If the parent solution is not there, then you cannot install a patch. And then the way the dependency is created is using the major minor version number. Okay. If it does not match, then you cannot install it. That is, you cannot install a patch unless the unique name and the major minor version of the parent solution match that of the parent solution installed in the target organization. So that is how it finds out that a particular solution and the patch is related to each other. Another thing about patches is that this is only supported from customer engagement organization of version 8.0 and above. So if you are using an organization which is using the previous version before 8.0, then you wouldn't be having the patches functionality. So it is not recommended to use unmanaged patches for like production purposes. So ensure that you use only managed patches for production instances, and patches can be exported as managed as well on top of the managed parent solution. The rule is that the patch protection, that is either managed or unmanaged, must match its parent. Another property is that if a solution has patches, then the subsequent patches must have a numerically higher version number than any of the existing patch for that solution. Patches also support the same operations as solutions, that is additive update. Okay, but it does not support removal. Okay, that is, you cannot remove components from a solution using patch. So to remove components from a solution, you need to perform an upgrade. So when a patch is installed, it is installed just above the base solution it is patching and below any solutions on top. So it means that any solutions on top will override the settings in the patch for that same component type. In the next video, we'll look at the other functionalities which is available for solutions.